Let me get one of those slow motion pictures, bro. One of the slow motion pictures.
You gotta shoot at 60 frames per second.
Come on, that.
They say they wanna hear that raw shit. These niggas claiming that they bullshit. These niggas better move it kosher. Cause if they make the wrong move it kosher. You see me, they like, ooh, keep on shopping. I'm on my way up and they ain't gon' stop it. They say they wanna hear that raw shit. Coming up on by the bullshit. They see me, they like, ooh, keep on shopping. I'm on my body, real niggas right beside me. Damn right, I brought my army, going up like a rocket, and can't nobody stop me. These niggas garbage, so watch your mouth, boy. Coming all black, slithering house, call me mouth, boy. I'm off the hip like a cowboy. I'm a king, you should bow, boy. Shorty like, damn, man, you cut up. Nothing I can handle. 144 in the booth, going Rambo. Niggas do you dirty like a stick in a bando. That's why I play the corner like a bum with a banjo. I'ma lead by example. Keep on sobbing, got this bitch off the hand, got this juice, got the drip, about to hit the bitch with the salt. It ain't rap, this is salt. Can't taste a bitch unless you with the coke. They say they wanna hear that raw shit. These niggas claiming that they bullshit. These niggas better move it kosher. Cause if they make the wrong move it kosher. Hey, one West, one West, one West, one West, one West. Coming up on my I do it how a veteran be. You better than me. I'm Reggie at the edge of the key. It's all money, no honey. Think you settling? See, you locked up, fucked up, and it's back to the streets. It's one West. You can check the residency. I reside where soldiers died on the soles of their feet. Cause it's death before designer. Ain't no coward in me. Cause I'm cold as a bitch's shoulder. You ain't calling a week. Get the cooking on this beat. Hope you like it well done. Got them killers rolling with me and they all red rum, red rum, red rum. Got you fuckers scared some. Get the banging on this beat till my fucking head numb. Black Glock, red drum, black and yellow air ones. Homie, you ain't got a vest. I suggest you wear one.
Told these niggas we was going up. They was doing a lot of talking. Now these niggas ain't saying shit.
Feeling like a legend in this shit, lil nigga. I'm past veteran. Never feeling third, lil nigga. I'm past second. Guns, I gotta have them all like Ash Ketchum. Shotty break a nigga ribs up like his wife left him. We all stepping, kill you with kindness cause I'm dead nice. That 5'7" put you 6 feet, not talking height. That judge giving out 5, what you doing life. These hands are rude GPS, a mean right. That's mean right, we build different, you know the vibes. And we something authentic, we notarized. I keep a 144 because I know a kind. Noah's Ark, you know I'm with animals when we flowing by. We back again, no cap, when I'm with Cap again. Yeah, they say they want smoke until we matching them. Everything righteous, so you know when we get back at them, you get hit up with a K, but no acronym. They say they wanna hear that raw shit. These niggas claiming that they bullshit. These niggas better move it kosher. Cause if they make the wrong move it kosher. You see me, they like, ooh, keep on shopping. I'm on my way up and they ain't gon' stop it. They say they wanna hear that raw shit. Coming up on by the bullshit.
Till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. One West till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. They ain't scaring me. Rip the soul out of Pharisee. Speaking heresy, it get you fucked up apparently. It's like they daring me. I said chill, they ain't hearing me. They ain't listening. Every bar nitroglycerin. Hit your heart, bring it back to start, make you live again. Get them dividends or we start getting ignorant. I be on that soldier shit. I told you shit phenomenal. Nah, but he a domino. So what you suckers trying to do? Rhyming comical. Guess it's funny until I'm bombing you. Bring apocalypse to them pussy niggas that's popping shit. Team of all-stars, I coach them up like I'm Popovich. Fuck the politics and the lobbyists and apologists. They vagina, so we gon' check them like gynecologists. It's kinda obvious how the situation is ominous. The way I vomit this and regurgitate for the audience. They start applauding this cause the competition is fraudulent. From the era where niggas smoke you up like a parliament. The flow been stupid, shit has gotten retarded since. All the dominance of one West rising to prominence. Cause I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. They want a nigga quiet, mute my maneuvers, but I ride like I got Groupons for Uber. Rhymes hard like they been viewed by Medusa. 9 milli Luger, 17 in the Ruger. Only need a few to sit up in your medulla. Obligata for the regatta, niggas wildin', they win every dollar. They riding by in black Impalas, let the semi holler. The showstopper been as proper since the teeny bopper. But now I'm going, I'm off Patron, a premium of vodka. I put extensions on the Glock, modified the chopper. The swore heavy, war ready, and that's working mama. No marijuana, say I got the loudest silence on it. When I'm up on it, ain't no rapper do it like I do it. A lot of spitties and writers, but when the heat's on, none of them can get to the fire. Around with me, and I had a nigga spin like a tire. Down the deep, and I'm still dope as a piper. Every bar burn hard like a spoon with a lighter. Fuel to igniter, I'm winning, coming through with the title because U.P.K. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me.
Yeah, I'm on 44 shit, you know what I mean? Busy man. Look, when that shit drop, you step all the way on their neck, step on their neck and their head with that shit.
Fine then, I ain't show no mercy, we gon' show them boy what time it is. I pop out like I'm Samuel, I got time to kill. Haters thought I died, I survived. They don't know how I did it, got it out the mud, straight to glory. They don't know how I feel, he nice but he don't show them skills, how I show them skills. He ride but he don't work the wheel, how I work the wheel. They mad, I'm too solid, circle tight, yeah, vacuum seal. No, they want my life, I ain't worried, I got rank for real. I got real soldiers, kill for me, nigga, watch yourself. They say you been in beast mode lately, you is not yourself. When you dropping that fire, precious marriage, they inquiring. They can't stop what's coming, but I see them conspiring. Cross the line, them firing. This bitch here, finna break the spin on kindness. I don't trust you, circle small. You can keep your features. Me and my niggas don't keep no secrets. In the field like Jeepers Creepers. Say they want some smoke, dawg. So I brought these chimney sweeps. Coming like we coming, you can't even cap. These niggas don't run it like we run it, bitch. Don't even start. Bitch, I'm with my niggas till the end, till death do us part. So if you wanna leave, you can leave, bitch. Bless your heart, fine then. I ain't show no mercy, we gon' show them boy what time it is. I pop out like I'm Samuel, I got time to kill. Haters thought I died, I survived. They don't know how I did it, got it out the mud, straight to glory. They don't know how I feel. He nice, but he don't show them skills, how I show them skills. He ride, but he don't work the wheel, how I work the wheel. Ooh, I got a man, circle tight, yeah, vacuum seal. I heard they want my life, I ain't worried, I got rank for real. Take over in effect, yeah, I'm fully focused. You might not see it on me, just know it's women, that bitch fully loaded. Ooh, yeah, we up and rolling. Told them I need major motion. Think I'm joking, I'ma school them niggas like they baby Jody. Got it out the dust, now I'm too clean, don't know why they hate me. What you want out life, dawg? Guns and butter, baby boy. U.P.K. top, dawg. Certified road
you a gospelite, bitch.
Fuck you talking about?
If that nigga won't war, bitch, we ready. It ain't hard to find us. Hawk, I keep that stick locked, loaded, boy, he'll fade you line up. Young nigga named is Slayer. What you think, boy, you be done.
All right, Shalom, Lord Christ is Officer of 1,000 Yahweh, and it's the Monday Night History class. And today we're gonna teach about some slave rebellions, man. That's what we're gonna show. And the title of the class is "Loose Lips Sink Ships and Gets Your Brother in chains and lynched." There you go. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens, man. Because we had a bunch of rebellions, man. But a lot of them stopped because our brothers wanted to be, because they wanted a crumb from our oppressor, man. They wanted a crumb from them. But they sold their brothers out. It'd have been more brotherhood to just let them do what they do, right? But they know, because it's better for them to snitch and get a little bit of crumb and be selfish. You know what I'm saying? That's how we was able to stay in chains. That's why we in chains now, right? Because we've been taught a selfish practice, man.
Right.
You know what that selfish practice is, right? Christianity.
That's right.
A selfish practice. That's why, like, what you learn in Christianity, you learn Christmas, right? What does that make children? More selfish.
Right.
They don't care about nobody else but Christmas. And then you gotta go out, and hell, you can even go to the damn department stores during Christmas, man. I hate Christmas, man. You can't even buy, like, right around them holidays. You can't even, like, just go to a store and just buy you whatever. Everybody's fighting over BS, trying to get toys for their kids everywhere. And I thought it was supposed to be the happiest time of the year, but they fighting each other to get toys, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All these things, you think all of this stuff was created for the kids. That's what they've been telling you, right? Christmas, they say Christmas is created for children, just for the kids, man, for the kids. No, it's not for the kids. Christmas is set up to make retail sales to get everybody in the black. That's all that is. It was engineered and organized to get all of that to make it a big bubble of consumer spending, so that everybody could get out of the black that year. I mean, get out of the red that year. If you was in the red, if you Best Buy, Circus City, that might be before your time, man. They've been gone about 10, 15 years now.
Right.
Circus City was like the competitor to Best Buy. You know what I'm saying? And they gone. You know what I'm saying? Christmas ain't work for them. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
It's like, I don't even know if you know about Best Buy. If it ain't coming from Amazon, he don't know it exists.
You don't know about Best Buy?
I know what Best Buy.
All right, God, there you go.
It's a lot here.
Don't deny the young brother. You know what he's talking about. You know something right here. But yeah, but Circuit City, like, you know, our Best Buy was blue. Circuit City was red. It was like the big competitors with each other. And then Circuit City ended up going out of business in like 08, 09, something like that. And then now it's just Best Buy is the only one left. But you can even see Best Buy is declining. Because you remember back, about 2005? Best Buy was that spot, wasn't it?
Right.
Best Buy had everything. Like, even now, it's like disheveled compared to what they was. They're not even making anymore, like expanding the company no more. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? But Christmas, that's what keeps Best Buy in stock. That's what keeps them alive, is Christmas. Then you got all them other spendings, you know, Black Friday. That's what all that's done is to keep them out the red, man. Keep them making profit. That's all that's for. That's why we got it. That's why we got to have so much brotherhood. If what it is if we have brotherhood, we could destroy our oppressor's economy. We can make this whole kingdom fall tomorrow if we love one another like we supposed to, right? And then that's why they pushed these holidays and Christmas on us so much, because they knew it was gonna make us selfish. They gave out rewards to a lot of the people that snitched on the people that was trying to rebel, they gave them rewards and said, hey, if you snitch, you might get set free. Sometimes they ain't even get set free, but they would still tell on their brother so that they could possibly get set free, right? But then instead of everybody getting free, they just get free. If a big enough rebellion happened, everybody gonna have to get set free, right?
Right.
Everybody. How did the oppressor get set free? A big enough rebellion. Right? That's how they got set free. From 1773. That's when they got free, right? When they went against the British, right? That's how they got free. A big enough rebellion, all black people have to get free. The reason, one of the reasons why they stopped doing they stopped carnal slavery is because it was so many damn, it was too many riots and revolts. It was starting to become too many. So instead of having carnal slavery, they decided, okay, let's re-engineer this. Let's let them free. Let's let them not have anything, and then what we're gonna do is set up prisons. Set up prisons everywhere. So now, what is saying? What the 13th or the 14th Amendment? You cannot be made a slave unless you commit a crime.
Right.
So they can put you behind back in slavery. So, but what it did, it makes it it makes you have to be a criminal, and then they trump up charges for you. So if you do, what I'm saying, you steal a pack of bubble gum, you damn near get life. You know what I'm saying? Versus a devil, he go do the same thing. The police just go talk to his parents. But a child, he got to get whooped, beat. He got to go serve time, all of that for stealing a pack of bubble gum, man. You think I'm lying? I'm not. This is not even an exaggeration. Right. This is just getting basic necessities for you to live. They will send you to prison, right? But if it was your oppressor, they just go talk to the parents and they'll come up with a GoFundMe in this time, right? Not, of course, this wasn't around that time, but they'll come up with something similar during, what they had during that time to raise up money to help each other out. Because they got brotherhood, but they don't want you to have brotherhood, right? All right, we're going to have to get into these videos soon. Go ahead, open it over. Go ahead.
Young man Brian checking in.
All right, Shalom Shabbat. What's going on, Ward?
What's going on, Ward?
Not too much. All right, click the video, add the stream. There you go. Nice, ready to go ahead and play that. And young man Brian, you can if you go to the YouTube channel where we playing it at, you can go and click the link and it can let you into the stream. You can hear things better and all that. And you can answer questions.
Fell like flurries through steamy tropical heat. Merchant ships busily cruised to and fro, keeping a wary eye on the sinister black haze as it hung in contrast over the crystal blue waters of the Caribbean Sea. Plantations were burning, and with them, the shackles of slavery. The fires radiated from the French island of Saint Domingue. What began as a rebellious spark in the late 1700s turned to smolder in 1791, and by the early 1800s, Saint Domingue was a revolutionary inferno. When the fires burned out in 1804, thousands lay dead. 75,000 French, 45,000 British, and 25,000 island colonists died attempting to hold on to France's valuable island pearl. Perhaps 200,000 enslaved Africans had given their last breath for something more valuable than riches. They died for freedom. Although the story of this revolt is filled with twists and turns, the strategy was straightforward. Eliminate every last slaveholder on the island, leave not one alive. The death toll estimates vary wildly, but all agree that it was a violent, bloody, yet successful revolt, engineered and carried out by an army of enslaved people. The revolution resulted in a free Black republic. Saint Domingue became Haiti. This was the Haitian Revolution.
Pause that right there. I see that Haiti. That's how they got free right there. They went. They fought. They had brotherhood. They fought and killed every slave owner on that island.
Right.
Every single one of them got them out of there, and they became their own free country. Right. Let's talk about the Haitians. All right, keep going.
10 years before the revolt, Captain Joseph V.C.'s trade ship frequented the waters of the Caribbean. He supplied the island plantations between Saint Domingue, Bermuda, and St. Thomas with fresh supplies of enslaved people. Island sugar plantations were notorious for their ability to devour people. Captain V.C. capitalized on this fact. In 1781, he took on about 390 enslaved people. Something, make that someone, caught the eye of the captain, a boy of about 14 years. The boy was given clothing and spared the stench of the lower decks, instead confined to the upper decks and held as Captain V.C.'s cabin pet. Yes, pet. After some time, the captain, no longer amused by the boy, sold him. But soon after, a sudden appearance of epileptic fits made the boy unfit for sale. Deemed damaged goods, the boy was returned to the captain. The fits vanished as suddenly as they had emerged. The boy accompanied the captain as he crisscrossed the globe. Many of these voyages set a course in and around the turbulent waters of Saint Domingue. The young servant would have been keenly aware of the brutal fight for freedom, the sights and sounds of which left an indelible mark deep in his mind. The captain called the boy Telemaque. The world would come to know him as Denmark.
This is about Denmark Vesey.
After the American Revolution ended,
he was in the process of leading one of the greatest slave revolts. You know what I'm saying? So he was a very smart brother. So I think I'm trying to remember if it was him or it was another brother, but it was the other brother we're going to talk about. But if I'm not mistaken, he spoke like 4 languages. So he was like the Paul at this time, you know what I'm saying? But Paul spoke a bunch of different languages. He spoke like Creole, he spoke French, Dutch, and English. So he spoke all of those languages. I think he might have been Haitian. He might have been in the tribe of Levi. So it's not 100%, but I think he might have been the tribe of Levi. But he spoke all those languages, and he had a good reputation amongst the people and amongst the oppressor. So he was. Go ahead.
Shalom on Christ. I watch you from Mars. So check it in.
Hey, Shalom on Christ. Just so you know, too, if you want to, you could join the stream on. If you go to the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, you can click the link and you can be on the stream. You can hear things better, and you can come in and ask questions too, and it will come up. It will come up better. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in a place you can do it, I urge you to go ahead and get into the stream so you can actually take a part better. Have more participation in class. All right.
All
right. So basically, that's Denmark Vesey. He was like I said, these are all strong brothers, man. He seen the Haitian Revolution. He's saying that they was able to come together and fight against their oppressor and get them free. So he wanted the same thing for black people here in America, right? Keep going.
In 1783, Captain V.C. dropped anchor and settled in Charleston, South Carolina. By then, Denmark had become multilingual and literate. For years, Denmark served Captain V.C. faithfully. He married and had 3 children, all of whom were enslaved nearby. In 1800, Denmark purchased a ticket and tried his luck in the East Bay lottery. He promptly won $1,500. On what would Denmark spend his lucky winnings? The question should be, on whom? For $600, Denmark purchased himself. Denmark became Denmark V.C., free man. Now, to secure the freedom of his wife and children, But that part of his plan was denied. Their master flat out refused to sell. Keeping his family within arm's reach, Denmark refused to leave the slave state of South Carolina. Instead, a heartbroken, resilient, and driven Denmark VC opened a carpentry shop in Charleston. He grew into a revered member of the community. Denmark became increasingly brazen and bold. They say he walked down the street as if the world was watching. If walking those streets with a companion, and that companion bowed to a white person, he would scold them, saying that he would never cringe to whites, nor should any man. If the companion dared answer, "But we are slaves," sarcastically Denmark would answer, "Then you deserve to be just that, a slave."
Damn.
Denmark kept a close eye on the debate surrounding the admission of Missouri as a new state. He carefully read speeches made against adding Missouri as a slave state. Some included the idea of ending slavery in the United States altogether. There was hope in Denmark's heart for his wife, children, for all enslaved people. That hope was dashed in the wake of the Missouri Compromise. Compromise over people's freedom? How could that be right? He was known to engage white citizens in a debate about the equality of races, quoting biblical scripture while throwing his voice so far as to catch the attention of any enslaved person in earshot. Yes, among the Africans of Charleston, Denmark was held in high regard. People stood in awe of the fearless way he navigated through life. Denmark decided it was time to end his longtime membership with the segregated Second Presbyterian Church. He joined the African Church of Charleston, a church associated with the African Methodist Episcopal Church. The AME Church had originated in the northern state of Pennsylvania and was known for its dedication to the abolition of slavery. Seeds of revolution would be sowed within the walls of the African Church of Charleston, with Denmark VC as the chief cultivator. Throughout the enslavement of Africans in America, many white landowners convinced themselves that their enslaved property was content, even happy, singing in the fields from can't see in the morning till can't see at night. For some, perhaps, this belief may have been necessary to continue such a cruel and inhumane yet profitable system. But who feels it also knows it. Although many enslaved people played the part of obedient servant, a state of war existed just below the surface of the master-slave relationship. Well aware that in South Carolina, he was part of the majority.
Y'all know that. Y'all know the scripture about that, right? Y'all know about the scripture, right? Psalms 137 and 3.
Oh.
Yep, and 3.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 137 and verse 3. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song.
Yep, they want us to sing songs, man. Like they think this is the song of happiness. No, this is the song of sadness. Who you think made the blues? Right? Who made all these other stuff? You know what I'm saying? Who made like even church music? Who does music theory? Black people.
Right.
Music theory is a way that you can press keys a certain way that it invokes a emotion from whoever's listening. Black people made music theory. Right? We're the ones that do all of that, right?
Come.
Keep going.
And they that wasted us required of us mirth.
Mirth.
Saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion.
They always want you to damn sing, man.
Con.
They like, they probably was in there jamming talking about us we singing us, our the Negro spirituals or whatever. They probably was in there like, man, these brothers can sing, boy, they can blow. So, and that's what they want. They like hearing us sing. So they thought we were happy we thought they were happy because of these of this oppression. We like being slaves. But no, that's just music is just what we do. It's just part of our culture. That's just what we do to maintain our spirits. Right. That's why in the Christian church, that's why they always playing you a damn song all the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they know songs uplift people. You know what I'm saying? It makes them feel better because they know our people, we're like that. That's why, like, you go to a Christian church, the song is way different. Man, if you want to see something spooky, go to a damn Catholic church and let them sing. Yeah, it's spooky as hell. You think, that sounds like they chanting. It sounds like some ghosts and goblins about to come out from the pulpit. It's spooky in there.
God.
And they think that's like music. That's what shows they heathenists, man. They heathens. That's a whole heathen custom to do that. Like they want to sound, I don't even know. It just sounds spooky as hell. Like it sounds like whatever your scary movie you hear, and you hear that real soft music, that's the music they playing. That's the music they singing over there in the Catholic church. All right, keep playing.
Repopulation, Denmark, BC was poised to bring simmering dissatisfaction to full boil. One Saturday afternoon in May of 1822, an enslaved cook named Devaney was sent to the market. While dutifully going about his errands, he found himself being offered something well beyond his culinary needs. An enslaved man named William, electric with excitement, approached and engaged Devaney in conversation. "We are determined to shake off our bondage," he said. "Many have joined, and if you will go with me, I will show you the man who has the list of names and who will take yours down." Devaney was a cook who apparently had no appetite for whatever it was William was cooking up. Instead, he made his way for his master's house. Devaney relayed the strange market conversation to his master's wife, then to the master himself. And in an instant, the mayor was notified. Devaney and William were promptly brought in for questioning. Was trouble brewing beneath the surface? The intense examination of William yielded the names of two enslaved men, Mingo Harth and Peter Poyas. Any alarm that had been raised was quieted by their steady coolness under questioning. So cool, in fact, that the mayor thought it was best to keep the whole thing silent. No need to startle the public with any talk of slave uprisings. As a precaution, armed patrols were stepped up. Mostly it was felt that all was well. But in fact, a revolution was lurking, hidden beyond the walls of the African Church of Charleston, covered by the usual singing, buried beneath prayer, hidden amongst the occasional catching of the Spirit, stashed within the solemn words of the sermon. A revolution was brewing. Within the normal, peaceful functions of the church, Denmark, BC was recruiting an army, a military unit whose goal would be to capture freedom at all costs. When Charleston authorities cast an occasional eye upon the church, Denmark continued his operations in his own home, then to the dark woods. As Denmark meticulously...
He was able to recruit so many members, they start calling him the general. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Sound familiar, right?
Kind.
So they start calling him the general, man. He had lieutenants and everything, man. All of that. He was able to, he had such a respected reputation that everybody was just trying to rock with him. You know what I'm saying? Keep going.
He orchestrated his plans. He was clear that all involved must stay tight-lipped and remain steadfast, playing the role of happy, obedient slave. and by no means were house servants to be recruited for any revolutionary duties. House servants were viewed as having something to lose, and that could doom their entire operation. Initial recruits would be field hands only, and their numbers were reaching into the thousands. William's reckless recruitment of Devaney only helped make Denmark's point: field hands only. Peter Poyes was chief organizer. He compiled and closely guarded a list of enlisted men, or candidates as they called them. "We must break the yoke. God has his hand in this," Peter reminded his recruits. A ship carpenter by trade, Peter was a natural general with bona fide leadership skills. He compiled a list of all Charleston shops that kept and sold arms and ammunition. It was said that once Peter got his eye on you, there was no resisting his command. Gullah Jack was thought to possess supernatural powers, a magical priest, a conjurer. When taken from his native Angola, he was allowed to take with him a bag. This bag was his conjuring sack, and he never parted with it. He was a skilled root doctor, creator of medicines and poisons if the situation required such. Gullah Jack was also a master of deception. To whites, he flawlessly played the role of harmless and happy. To his fellow enslaved comrades, he was known to be an invincible force and was called the little man who cannot be killed. Gullah's reputation among field workers was critical to recruitment efforts. The night of the attack, Gullah Jack would hand out crab claws to be held in the mouth. The claws would provide protection from injury and harm. Philip was Gullah Jack's right hand. He was a preacher and blind. Philip took care of recruitment when Gullah Jack was engaged in other duties. Philip had the uncanny ability to see into the heart and soul. This skill endeared him to many who needed a nudge to take on the seemingly insurmountable task ahead. Monday Gell was enslaved and literate. He would serve as the scribe, and like Gullah Jack, a native of Africa. Monday wrote a letter to President Boyer of Haiti. He sought assurance that the people of Haiti would help their efforts to free themselves. Tom Russell was in charge of the arms, making pikes and securing other weapons. Polydor Faber also readied weapons for battle. Together, they would put together hundreds of pikes and daggers, reserving swords and guns for the commanders. Bacchus Hammett was solely in charge of firearms and ammunition. Guns were allegedly to be secretly stored in coffins around the city. William Garner and Mingo Harth were to lead a company of horsemen. Lot Forrester was the messenger, spreading word and details of the uprising. Ned Bennett was to act as a commander. He was the governor's trusted servant and had access to inside information in terms of what the official response to an uprising might be. Originally, the uprising was to take place on July 14, 1822, Bastille Day, the anniversary of the French Revolution. But since there was a leak in the plot, no matter how slight, Denmark decided to launch his attack on the city earlier, June 16th. Look sharp, it's time. At the stroke of midnight, Peter Poyes would command a force on.
Yeah, they was trying to go at that time in July because it was on a Sunday. So Sundays, it was a more strategic time to do things on Sundays because slaves grouping up because they usually let you get Sunday off. You know what I'm saying? Just like how they do today. They, because they Christian, they let you get Sundays off. So Sundays, they would get together, and it wasn't weird to see a bunch of slaves together during that time. And plus, that's when they were at their weakest. Like, they would have like militia around. The militia would be gone. It's just the primal time. It's just the prime time attack on the Sunday. That's why he picked it. But then of course, somebody started snitching, right? Somebody started snitching on him or whatever. And then when they snitched on him, they ended up getting him. The rumor started swarming about it. So there he had to move it up. Otherwise, because he was losing the tactical advantage of a surprise. Because like if we got it, he started it like in April or May, something like that. And once you started losing the tactical surprise, so he had to move it up to June because if everybody is, they start alerting people start coming in from all over the place, you know what I'm saying, different cities to try to stop the slaves from uprising. So that was what he was doing. So that's why he did it. Keep going.
Horseback, they'd scour the streets, securing vital avenues while clearing away any resistance. He volunteered to capture the city's main guardhouse. At the same time, another group, led by Ned Bennett, would seize the arsenal, securing much-needed firearms. A third group, led by Rolla, would kill the governor and mayor, and then take up strategic locations on the edge of the Charleston city limits, preventing white forces from assembling and entering the city. A fourth group would descend upon the wharves and attack the upper guardhouse. A fifth group would assemble 2.5 miles from the city and seize a large store of gunpowder. A sixth would gather at Denmark VC's house and take orders if any part of the plan needed adjustment. And a seventh group, led by Gullah Jack, would meet at the head of King Street and systematically conduct an arms raid, hitting previously identified stores and shops. Simultaneously, a free roaming horse brigade, led by William Garner and Mingo Hart, would patrol the streets, killing any and all who dared to interfere with the capturing of Charleston. All the while, reinforcements by the thousands would pour into the city from plantations in the country. Possibly entire plantations had been enlisted. They would come by way of the Ashley and Cooper rivers, routes they frequently used when bringing agricultural products into Charleston. Once the city was secure, the liberated African revolutionaries could set sail for Haiti, the young republic that had thrown off the shackles of slavery just a few years before. They would be waiting with open arms.
Going back to our brothers, man. We're going back to our Haitian brothers because, he was going to be waiting on us to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? That we can join forces and start trying to get our rest of our brothers out. You know what I'm saying? They was trying to get over to Haiti. So he had a very elaborate plan.
Right.
You about to say something about?
I had a question, sir.
Uh-huh.
This is Charleston, South Carolina, is where it's popped up at.
Come.
All right.
Charleston was a real racist and slave city. Like big time. Like there are certain cities that was real big in slavery. Charleston was one of them. It was huge. Like that was one of the ports they came in on. A lot of people came in through I think a high percentage, like over 50% of slaves that they came through Charleston. It was something ridiculous like that, right? So, but you see, he was trying to get his brothers back to go back to Haiti so he can go, we were, kick it with them. So, saying because they fought them off the island. And that's that was the beautiful thing about, like, another reason why their revolt was better is because it was on the island. You know what I'm saying? Us being in the continental U.S., they can get people from all over. And then what that did was make other Judites scared, you know what I'm saying? Judites, Reubenites, all of that, they would get, terrified of it because they would think it wouldn't work because, we had so much land to cover. Over there, they only had an island to take care of. You know what I'm saying? It's just geographical location. You know what I'm saying? It's just a strategy. You know what I'm saying? They might have not been as fearful if it was on a smaller plot of land. But, it was United States is pretty large. I'm sure you know. So I'm not saying it's still weak for them to be snitching, but I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to, show the other side of it too. You know what I'm saying? I keep playing. Keep playing.
As Charleston lay asleep and unsuspecting, and within hours of go time, more leaks appeared in what had previously been an almost impervious plan. Out of a mixture of torture, fear, and promises of freedom came a deluge of information about the would-be plan for freedom, mostly from the mouths of enslaved people. In rapid succession, the supposed lieutenants in the plot were arrested and taken into custody. After a 2-day manhunt, Denmark Vesey himself was taken into custody. The trial of the conspirators began on Wednesday, June 19, 1822, just 3 days after the intended date of the revolution. No spectators were permitted at trial, owners and counsel of the enslaved only. Court proceedings took place in a small room, and no black person, free or enslaved, was allowed within 2 miles of the prison. 5,000 troops stood guard day and night. In all, 131 men were arrested in connection to the plot. By all accounts, the ringleader showed not a hint of fear, remarkably composed. When Peter Poyas was asked how it was possible that he could wish to see his master and family murdered after they had treated him so kindly, Peter's only response was a smile. When the sentence of death was finally handed down, Peter said matter-of-factly, "I suppose you'll let me see my wife and family before I die?" A handful of enslaved witnesses, which included Monday Gell, unfolded stories of the plot to the court, implicating their fellow enslaved brethren. Gullah Jack offered hard stares and mysterious hand gestures. Catching the attention of the judge, Jack was told to refrain from casting any bewitching spells on witnesses. Acting as his own defense counsel, Denmark continued with righteous indifference. Only after the judge chastised Denmark for bringing such harm and destruction to his followers did he show any sign of emotion. Tears filled his eyes. Of the 131 arrested, 67 were convicted, including 4 white men.
For the crime of
35 were sentenced to death by hanging.
You see that? Boy, he said, what did Paul say? For I wish myself would be a curse to save my brothers, man.
Right.
That's the only time he gave a damn. When he thought about his brothers dying too. He didn't care about his punishment. He was fine. He was willing to die, man. I wish we can get that brother a fly now, bro. That was a strong brother, man. And I know, I may, you know what I'm saying, slag it. But I feel as though that brother, that same spirit, if he not already back, he coming back in the UPK, man.
That's right.
He ain't gonna be in no purple group. He gonna look around like, man, these brothers are soft. They seem like these for like the brothers that snitched on me, man.
Right.
They went to the police. You know that you know what they said? They said it's okay to snitch. He said, if you got a criminal pass, I'm snitching.
Right.
I'm getting you locked up. We need that money, right? They want that money, man. And if I'm not mistaken, it's either him or the next guy we're gonna get into. But I think it was the next guy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the next one. I'm gonna hold off until then. Pretty sure it was him. But it's like their stories was almost so similar. It's easy to get them mixed up because it was about the same thing. They had an elaborate plan to get black people out and got told on. Somebody couldn't keep their damn mouth shut. All right, keep going.
May God have mercy on your souls.
The first 6 were executed on July 2nd, 1822, 3 of whom had been enslaved by Governor Bennett. Taking a place on the scaffold with them was Peter Poyas and Denmark Vesey. Only Peter spoke. Do not open your lips, die silent, as you shall see me do.
Building your online business? Go to Wix.com and set up your store on a single integrated platform.
All obeyed. By August 9th, the last of the 35 conspirators had been executed. Anyone in Charleston thought to be mourning.
He led by example. We said, keep your mouth shut and take your punishment. Take it. Take it. Don't say a word. And they all said, Khan wa Khan.
Right.
And they did it, man. Didn't say a damn word, man. Like I'm telling you, I think these brothers are the UPK, man. I'm Salaki. Salaki. Where else can they be?
Right.
If the Most High sent them back, they got to be here. Where else you know brothers is like this, man?
Right.
Keep going.
The dead conspirators would be whipped. The law recommended no more than 39 lashes. Following the court cases, laws tightened in South Carolina. Slave owners could no longer free their enslaved property without the approval of the state legislature. All free Africans were assigned a white guardian, someone to vouch for their good character. If a free African left the state, they could not return. The Negro Seaman Act stated that all black sailors must be confined to prison while their ship was at port. The African Church of Charleston was burned, and to ensure the public safety in the event of future slave uprisings, a fortress was built. It was called the Citadel. The Denmark V.C. plot failed to secure the freedom of the enslaved people of South Carolina, but placed the nation on the path to civil war. Northern abolitionists praised the name Denmark Vesey and hailed him as a symbol of the abolitionist cause. To many Southerners, the name conjured up every fear associated with black liberation. The misguided notion that blacks were content, even thankful, with their position at the bottom of society had been shattered. If one only dared to look, the truth had always been just below the surface.
All right, here's what you do. Click remove for that video down at the bottom. There you go. And then you go down to present. Share screen. You see on the bottom present. You see it? You hit present. Yeah, you can do that. Click stop screen. Now go to present screen. Yeah, share screen. Yeah. Now click OK. Now go to the one that says I'm gonna click it. Go to the one, the other one. Not just below the surface, the other one. No, the other Chrome. Yep, Forging Freedom. So, all right, but yeah, that just go to show you, man. We had chances to get out of this hellhole, but because our lack of brotherhood, man, and that's the thing that's why we're not able to get all our brothers out. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't have brotherhood with each other, man. You know what I'm saying? It's the way it is, man. That's why the UPK was made, so we can actually learn how to deal with one another, man. Because, you know, one brother will see freedom and he would try to get him and himself free. How you gonna be? To me, that's so cowardly, man.
Right.
You gonna get yourself free, but you can have all your brothers, man. I don't want to be free without the rest of y'all free, man.
Right.
The hell kind of freedom is that? So I could be up under devils all day? I want to be free with y'all. I want to be in the kingdom with y'all.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Come.
I don't want to be in the kingdom with devils, man. You think I want to go and skip myself free to be a second class, third, fourth class citizen amongst them?
Right.
They still gonna treat you like crap. They gonna give you the low wages. They gonna steal. But then here's the thing that you didn't realize: you lose your dignity and your self-respect, man.
Right.
That's what you lose. That's what, you know what I'm saying? That's the ultimate thing you lost. Now you're not even, you know what I'm saying? Now Denmark VC, he went down in history. You don't know these people. These people is looked upon as Judas. Right. They the Judases. Do you want to, boy? Do you want to go? Do you want your name to be, linked with Judas the rest of your life? Not even rest of your life. Your whole family gonna be linked with Judas. You know what I'm saying? You know about Judas, right?
Not really, sir.
You heard about Benedict Arnold? Boy, they ain't teach y'all nothing at them schools, boy. Y'all, good night.
God.
Judas was the one that turned Christ in to the to the Romans so they can execute him. Because at this time they didn't have like TV, they didn't have Facebook pages, so they didn't know what he looked like. He had to give them a sign to say this is what they said, what to salute him or something. Whoever he saluted, or what said to kiss, that means salute.
Oh,
Kiss don't mean you didn't kiss each other.
Oh.
Kiss means touch. Like how we dap each other up. That's a kiss. That's a kiss. You understand? So we didn't kiss each other. That's what them gay behind Romans do. They kiss on each other, and them Catholics, they kiss on each other. Just like you play ball, they say you kiss it off the backboard. It's like a light touch. So we didn't kiss on one another.
Right.
Let's get that dispelled.
Why?
But I swear. I ain't want y'all trying to kiss on brothers later, you know what I'm saying? That Passover. They ain't gonna go down like you think, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, but that's what the kiss is. Just he saluted him. And when he saluted him or whatever, that's how he knew it was Christ. Because like I said, they didn't know what he looked like. And he was the traitor to Christ. And this was the person that they were the traitors to Denmark VC. And then this other brother you might never heard of. Go ahead and play that. Now, I'm sorry, y'all got to hear this devil singing. How long is it? A minute. All right, right on time. Let's skip it a little bit.
Rising many years ago, and then years later, I was talking to some friends, and I figured everyone knew the story, and apparently not everyone does know the story. And then a couple of days later, I was walking, I asked some friends, and they had never heard the name Gabriel before, and I was walking a couple of days later with Emma at the James River, and the song just wrote itself in my head. I believe that you die twice, or I've been told you die twice. The first time is when you're physically gone, and the second time is when the memory of you is gone. And Gabriel was an honorable person, and I figure singing a song about him does
You
him
start
great
singing,
justice.
you can fast forward that.
And I've sang.
There's not a song as Zion. You know what I'm saying?
It takes
There's
place
a song of Esau trash.
at a point in our history where you can lay it side by side with the sort of revolutionary ideology of the country. And it encapsulates the fundamental contradiction, the fundamental contradiction, being that of race and that of the idea of freedom and who's entitled to it.
We can look at Gabriel's rebellion, it's two-sided. We can think, here's a man that wants to come in and kill and destroy the white population here, the government that is just starting. It could really cause our country to crumble. They could think that this is anarchy. But I lean more on the side of he's a human being asking what we all ask, to be treated fairly, to be treated honestly.
Had Virginia's leadership been kind of shocked into action by Gabriel's plan, had they passed some kind of law for gradual emancipation, no Nat Turner debacle, no Virginia secession in 1861, no 700,000 dead Americans who died because the founding fathers could not do what they knew they should be doing. And so that was kind of a major turning point, not just for Virginia or Henrico, but for the Republic. And it was a moment in which Virginia's leadership failed.
Gabriel Prosser was born at an interesting time, 1776, which is right at the beginning of the American Revolution. And by the time the revolution ended, he's like 7, 8. And it was an interesting time because freedom was being established. There's a lot of talk about freedom and word is thrown around a lot, but it was a time period where freedom was beginning to be defined, not only as it related to the colonists, quote unquote, or the quote unquote Americans, but also with the Black community and the dichotomy of this being a free society that with slavery.
Gabriel was a slave, that he was raised here in Henrico County. You know, that he grew up at Brookfield, Thomas Prosser's plantation that isn't very far from Meadow Farm.
His master knew exactly how old he was, like down to the month. And so that suggests that he wasn't purchased as a child, that he was born there on Brookfield. He appears for the first time in 1783 on a census. When the war was over, Virginia did this sort of giant census, and it's the one time that slaves appear by name and not simply by number. And there he is, young boy Gabriel. We don't know much about Gabriel's family, unhappily. He had a wife. She is referred to only once in the trial documents. She's called Nanny, and that may be an occupational nickname.
Gabriel had 2 brothers that we know of, Martin and Solomon, that were raised with him on Brookfield Plantation.
We don't know who his parents were. He's trained to be a blacksmith, and usually people inherit the occupation of their parent if they're enslaved. So most likely, and one of his brothers is also a blacksmith. So most likely his father was also a blacksmith. Slaves are not allowed to inherit property, but they can inherit the somewhat better status of a parent. And so the daughters of domestics become domestics, and the daughters of craftsmen become craftsmen.
He and his brothers are growing up on that plantation. He's approximately the same age as the owner's son, Thomas Jr. My readings have shown that he and Thomas kind of played together as little boys, and he will grow into a tall, strong, skilled worker who offers a certain kind of income to the plantation, is useful on the plantation for a time, but once tobacco's played out and once they really start needing to diversify their revenue streams, he's also rented out in Richmond. So he has an access to Richmond as a young man that is a little bit unusual for people who live their lives on the plantation in the agricultural slavery systems.
If you are a workman that could be trusted to be hired out, then you would travel. You would have a pass, and you could travel by horseback, by wagon, to all around the state to work. And the money that they earned would be given to them, and they would then be sent to the master. And so the master would make money, but also the slave received some recompense for his work. It's hard for us to understand that in early times in Virginia in slavery, that slaves had a degree of freedom that we don't imagine. We see life sort of post-Gabriel, but before that event happened, they had a degree of freedom. Of course, it wasn't really freedom.
There is some speculation that Gabriel could read and write, and it's speculation because in large part, Black people, both enslaved and free, were not encouraged to become literate or to receive an education. But as a blacksmith, he would need those skills. He would need to know how to read and write to be able to perform his trade efficiently and effectively.
And pause right quick. That goes to show you that a lot of slaves could actually read. The issue of it is because they were, like when these rebellions would happen, they were reading the Bible.
Right.
These brothers knew scriptures. That's why the issue of it was they didn't want you to read the Bible. They would burn the brothers' eyes out. There's reports that that brothers used to go in caves and wrap their heads like we do now and be in the caves trying with like a candle trying to read scriptures to each other. So you understand, we knew who we were, man. Don't think that, you know what I'm saying, black people didn't know who they were. They knew who they were. Black people now don't know who they are. But we knew who we were at that time. They just beat it the hell out of us. But we knew who we were. We used to go around and we knew we was Israelites. How you think the truth came out? How the truth came out in New York? It was brothers that was former slaves that told the brothers down in that was in the care like down south or whatever. There was former slaves that said, "Yeah, we the real Israelites." And then those brothers came up. One went up to Chicago, or one went up to New York. And over time, the New York side came I.S.U.P.K. That's what we come out of. Those same brothers that taught from, that got taught that we were the Israelites from brothers from the South. That's what we got taught, man. All right, keep going.
An enslaved person with mobility and literacy is remarkable. He probably had many, many kinds of employers, many kinds of customers. He would hang out in the taverns after work for a time. That was still possible. It is likely that he got to know people who were travelers coming through Richmond. And in the years when he was an adult young man, he's around and he's literate. He's able to read pamphlets. He's able to read journals and newspapers and things that are coming through. And we are talking about the revolutionary first 25 years of the existence of the United States. So there's an awful lot of rhetoric around, and a lot of people who are not quite so sure that slavery ought to exist. And he's getting exposed to that, and he's synthesizing that information and combining it with his personal experience with life on the plantation, with life as an enslaved laborer in the city of Richmond. And I'm sure that clashes with his own personal dreams.
I think for Gabriel, there's a moment in time, and that's when in 1799 he and his brother, one of his friends, are stealing a neighbor's hog, and of course most slaves are not getting enough protein on the table, and so slaves are always stealing, especially from neighbors, hogs, the occasional, cow, that kind of thing, and trying to get protein on the table, and he's caught, and the neighbor berates him, and of course he's supposed to then play the slave game, look down, shuffle his feet, apologize, be very obsequious, and he just kind of snaps, and he dives at the person's knees, and they have this kind of punching, rolling around on the ground contest going on, and he finally bites off the better part of the neighbor's left ear. So that's now a capital crime. He's attacked a white man.
He is arrested, and he would have been sentenced to death, but they have sort of a loophole that if you can recite passages from the Bible to show that you are God, then you would not.
But you God fear, they ain't kill you.
You would be publicly whipped and humiliated.
Basically, a good
and
Christian.
you would be branded with some kind of mark to forever label you as a person not quite trustworthy, that you had committed some kind of act against a white person.
Obviously, he knew he was a slave, but this is a reminder that despite his size, his ability, his literacy, the fact that he is badly deeded as an economic cog on the plantation, that he is in fact a thing who's now been brutalized by the state of Virginia. The public whipping is of course, a conscious embarrassment. It's designed to remind people where they stand.
It is difficult to say what would make a person take decisive action, especially when that action has such dire consequences, the possibility of dire consequences. To know that you're not on the same level with others, that you are in fact property and owned by someone. It would be wearing.
How much time left?
14 minutes.
All right, keep going.
16.
And it would make, I would imagine, a person say, no more. Something has to be done.
Because Gabriel is a skilled bondman who hires his time on occasion, he clearly knows people like himself at other estates. And because he is fairly mobile, when he's able to go to those estates, and he knows kind of who to contact. So in other words, he's dealing with people very much like himself.
He meets a fellow slave by the name of Jack Pitcher, and their personalities must have been similar. They were probably both very intelligent men, skilled men, and they discussed, maybe at first in jest, what could we do, and supposition of how can we end this life of servitude.
Young Spring was an area that enslaved people would gather there. On Sundays, that was where they could go. You get some privacy from the people who control your lives. And, you know, there's obviously some understanding part of the enslavers, they understand that people need this, right? You can't repress people every single minute of the day without knowing that there's going to be a loss at the end of it or a challenge at the end of that. So people get their Sundays for this time. And to know that this was also a place maybe for them where they felt like where they could be safe with themselves, for Gabriel and his co-conspirators to introduce this element of profound danger into that space also, I know was not comfortable for everybody.
And so finally on August 10, they have this big meeting at Young Spring. It's a Sunday, and there's been a child's funeral, and so people have gathered. And Gabriel announces that anybody who's with him to stand up, and those who aren't just to keep sitting down. And of course, who's going to be sitting down while everyone else is rising up?
Gabriel must have had quite a formidable personality and very good and articulate speech, and he's able to persuade other slaves that are probably very frightened. The thought of rising up against your master, they would have known that this was cause that they could be killed. Even talking about such things would be a death sentence to them if they were found. So Gabriel must have been persuasive and articulate enough to have other slaves join him, and he's given the title of general for his ability to recruit other slaves.
What's that say? It was just on there. What that say?
With several hundred slaves by his side, Gabriel was now ready to put his plan into action.
There you go.
So the plan was to gather a group to march into Richmond on that Saturday, August 30th, as the sun was going down, that they would split into 3 formations. One would go to the warehouses along the river and set a fire, drawing the town's militia all there. Another group would go to the armory where they had prearranged with the man who was in charge of the keys to the armory to let them in so that they could arm themselves. And then they were going to regroup as a solid group and move on the governor's mansion and take Governor Monroe hostage and negotiate for the end of slavery and access, basically, to the economic system.
Gabriel's skill at being a blacksmith enabled him to fashion weapons, makeshift weapons, that would be quite lethal. He could turn any of the plowshares, which he would use to turn the ground, which can be very sharp. He could turn them into weapons. Size that you use to cut wheat crops and such could be easily turned into weapons. Pikes could be made.
And there was a flag made, I understand, of silk that said death or liberty, inverting the words of Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. And the fact that he inverted it to say death first signifies just how far they were willing to go in pursuit of freedom, in pursuit of liberty.
What Gabriel did was Gabriel gave a methodical plan in order to get to the governor. What is unknown is what's the governor going to do? Is the governor just going to, the governor would simply say, okay, what I'll do is I'll set all of you free. Now go back to your houses. That ain't happening. So, that's like the end. Okay, you've told me what you're going to do, but then what's he going to do? So there are a lot of wild cards at the end, but to get to the end would be impressive.
I think there's every reason to believe that the plan would have been successful. It might have been kind of a bloody mess in which Gabriel dies and maybe Monroe dies, but it certainly had every possibility of getting off the ground, and then the skies just opened. And anyone who's ever been caught in a late summer rain in Virginia, it's not raining. I mean, it's pouring. What had been a tiny creek suddenly is a river. Small bridges near Brookfield are being washed away. Almost nobody gets to kind of the rendezvous point. According to one document, Nanny's there, Gabriel's there, Jack Ditcher is there, but not nearly enough men to start. And so they hold this kind of quick meeting and decide to push everything back for one night.
We believe there may have been at least 1,000 people involved. And when you have a group that large, it's not going to be as cohesive as you would like, because some began to doubt what they're doing.
You have a lot of people who have been holding themselves together in anticipation of this day and this hour. And when they have to delay, you can imagine that people begin to break.
Other slaves, the slaves that hadn't been able to meet there because of the terrible conditions of the weather, I'm sure they were thinking over again, is this really the best course for us to take? Is it worth the cost of what could happen? And one of those slaves is Pharaoh, and he lives here at Meadow Farm, and he's only 27 years old. He's got a wife and a young son, and I'm sure that this gave him great pause if he should go forward with this. So Pharaoh decides that he needs to speak to someone, and he goes to Tom, who is a fellow slave here at Meadow Farm. He's owned by Mosby Shepherd. And he suggests that they go and talk to Mosby Shepherd. That shows a level of trust that he has with his master, that they need to go speak with them.
And of course, one of the ways that any slave society exists is by offering incentives to those who have useful information. And they finally do decide to go and tell their owner, Mosby Shepherd, of what's going on. And he is able to get word into town. He writes something out. He also kind of gallops into town and gets word to Monroe, who then calls out the militia in Henrico and the area all around Richmond. And that's when Gabriel finally decides to run for it.
So he parts from his wife.
Pause right quick.
And he takes to the safest.
Like, see, they got faint of heart, man. One day he'll hold up with the rain. One day. Now they started thinking, oh man, I don't know, this is a good idea. It got scary. And they went up there and talked to the damn slave owner and said, hey, you got some slaves about to rebel soon. Because he trying to get a trinket from the master, man. And you see him, he heard that it was all going down, so he decided he had to end up taking off. Keep going.
Place that he knows, and that is the Chickahominy Swamp, which is very near Brookfield. And it's a way for him to hide. It'll be harder for the mounted militia to find him and track him. And it leads him to the James River, and he's able to find a sympathetic captain there that has a ship named Mary. And on the ship are also slaves that he knows. So he feels a degree of safety that he can escape. He's able to board the ship. The ship will take him to Norfolk.
And when they get there, there is a reward that Governor Monroe has posted. And so there's a slave on the ship. He doesn't want to turn Gabriel in, but the reward could possibly buy his freedom. And so he notifies authorities in Norfolk, and they board the ship and take Gabriel away. And in the final kind of classic irony of ironies, because the person who turns him in as a black man, he only gets part of the reward and not enough to buy his own freedom.
And it is there that
that's what those dumb behind get.
Right.
When they traded a brother in trying to get his freedom. When they got him arrested, and then could even get his own freedom, dummy.
Right.
Dumb. He trying to get you free. And you try to sell him so you can get some money. That's why your dumb behind ain't even get all the money. Right? Keep going.
he is apprehended and brought back in chains to Richmond to stand trial.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that local...
He must have felt some abject sense of failure on the one hand. But just because this chapter of the rebellion and this chapter of the struggle for liberation was over, the next one wasn't. That's an extraordinary moment for someone who's a leader, is to recognize that he may have been the leader for that time, but it was going to go to the next person or people.
October 6th is the date for his trial, but it's really a farce. All of the individuals that are there know that this is just once again the whites saying one thing and will do another. I'm sure they wanted him to confess and say, I was wrong, I'm so sorry. But he was a proud man and he was not going to do that. At the end of the trial, of course, he was found guilty. And for him to be executed, he's a slave. So for you to execute a slave means you have to reimburse the master that owns him. So the value of $500 is placed upon him that will be paid to his owner. And that must have been a terrible insult to Gabriel.
See, dumb, he didn't get the money. The master got the money. The master of the slave got the money because, like I said, if they got to kill your slave, they got to give you money, the price of their money back for your slave.
Right.
Just think, and that's full price. $500 is full price. But if you black and you had a house that's somewhere they want to develop into a damn lake, they gonna give you a quarter of the price of your house, the value of your house. See, but you think we living in a good society. You think America is fair. America don't look after black people, man. America hates black people. But they'll look after each other, though. They'll make sure they straight.
Right.
Keep going.
Come.
When Gabriel and his men are hanged, they're hanged in very strategic places. Some are hanged in Brookfield, so that they bring slaves in, and masters will force their slaves to come and watch. So these are very public executions. So some are executed in Richmond, some out in Henrico, some in front of the tavern that Prosser owns. They want as many slaves to see this is the price of thinking about armed freedom and liberation. And so the fact that no one dies is irrelevant. They have to make an example.
One of the things that Gabriel had asked, a dying man's request, was that he not be hung alone, that he would have his friends with him that had been sentenced to death also. But when he is taken by cart to the execution site, he realizes he will have that final insult of his wish not being followed through, that he will have to die alone.
And so the man who's at the center of this vast conspiracy dies by himself. He dies in Richmond, so probably Nanny is not there to see him die, and any kind of comfort that he might have derived from that to see her there in the audience. And then, of course, the gallows is the old Negro burial ground, and so you hang him and plant him right there. The body does not go back to the family. There's no last rites for the family to grieve. He just kind of disappears, and word arrives that he's been hanged. The event was enormous. The failed conspiracy, I think, really shocked white Virginians. Stories appeared in newspapers up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts all the way down to Savannah, Georgia. Long descriptions of the executions and the trials. I think especially when it became clear how vast it was. It was not just a handful of slaves in Henrico, but that it finally essentially had branches from Henrico to Norfolk to Petersburg. A handful of slaves apparently in Charlottesville knew about it. Doesn't mean they're actively involved, but they knew about it and kept silent. And I think that's kind of what really stunned America.
The failed rebellion had a devastating effect on the enslaved community that would last for generations.
That's why black people don't try to get free, man.
Right.
They get the best they can get.
The result of Gabriel's failed insurrection had the effect of what he didn't want to have happen. The slave laws became more strongly enforced. Life for African Americans at this time became much harder.
The laws became much more restrictive. You began to see much fewer manumissions and emancipations. Laws were created that said once you became free, you had to leave the state. You could not be educated. You could not own firearms. You could not.
So you had to leave the state because they didn't want you to try to get other brothers free. They didn't want other brothers to see you free either, and then they try to do something to get free, right? And they said you couldn't own firearms. Remember I said the first gun control was towards Black and Hispanic and Native American Indians. Right. That was the first gun control. They didn't want you to have guns. That's why even still to this day, all the places that they do a lot of the gun bans on, or the high place they do gun bans, is where Black people are at.
Right.
And they make it 10 times harder for Black people to own them. Like Chicago, for instance, you can't have a gun in Chicago. Right. Who wants guns in Chicago? Black people. Can't get them. New York. Right? All these cities, you can't have them. Keep going.
Gather in an assembly. It was with the intention of keeping people in their place.
I think this event was tremendous. And I think that one of the things that we don't quite focus on is the fact that it was really important not only to condemn him, to execute him, to make his burial place unknowable. We do not know where he was buried. And also to, as quickly as possible, erase the memory of this rebellion. That was very important to do. You could not have his story linger as something, as a beacon for people.
The cry that Gabriel gives to the world is simply the cry of every man, that I wish to be free. I wish to be treated as you are treated. And we are known for our founding fathers from Virginia, and they all asked the same question that Gabriel asked. And they're remembered in our pantheon of history, whereas Gabriel is often unnoted and looked over his story when it resonates, I think, with everyone.
As many as 27 people were executed for participating in Gabriel's rebellion. Mm-hmm. Governor Monroe granted Tom and Pharaoh of Meadow Farm their freedom.
Good night. So he got free, but his brothers didn't get free. Yeah, you can wrap. You can remove that one. Give me Romans 9:3. Let's start at verse 1. All right.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 1. I say the truth in Christ. I lie not. my conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh.
So that's what Paul said. He said he could be a curse to save his brothers, right? He'll rather not be in the truth, so he can save Israel, man.
Right.
All right. Let me see here. Let me see some. All right. Okay. Now give me one more. All right. Hold on a second. All right. Go to Ecclesiasticus 12 and 8.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12 and verse 8. A friend cannot be known in prosperity,
Mm-hmm.
and an enemy can be hidden in adversity.
It cannot be hidden in adversity.
Salakia cannot be hidden in adversity.
So everything was looking good to them brothers, when they was getting ready to go attack, but now they get a little adversity. Now they go and tell.
Right.
They go, they go tell the master, what's going on. Read the next one for me.
Khan, verse 9. In the prosperity of a man, enemies will be grieved.
So if you prosper, you're doing good, your enemy is going to be grieved. Right? That's exactly what that means. So now, even to some extent, Pharaoh, the guy they call Pharaoh in there, remarkably so, right? They call him that here. Exactly, up in time. There you go. Remarkable, right? Who they named after. But anyway, they wanted to get them, got their brothers, locked up basically and killed, and then so they can get their freedom.
Right.
All right. So, when they see him prospering, they get grieved. They get grievous because they said, "Oh, wait a minute. What if we don't get it? What if he gets it, and the rest of us don't, or something like that, right?" Now he gonna say, "Let me get my freedom. Let me go tell, and then I'm gonna get my freedom." And that's what they got. They got their freedom.
Right.
Instead of having freedom like the Haitians had, they had their own land, everything. Instead of having that, they went and got second class freedom.
Right.
Which they can still make you a slave again, let you be caught without your papers.
Right.
Behind going right back into slavery. All right, read that last part.
But in his adversity, even a friend will depart.
Even a friend, when they start having little issues, they getting up out of there, right? That's why we learn what true brotherhood is right here, man.
Right.
We ain't departing from one another when stuff get hard, man. That's
right.
why you get all these trials. That's why you got Hebrew Academy. You gonna learn what you are. You gonna learn how you gonna learn. We gonna watch you in Hebrew Academy. We gonna see how you act when you get some adversity. Are you gonna just give it up? You know what I'm saying? You gonna die on the field right next to your brother. You gonna keep fighting, right? Any question, anything anybody wants to bring up? All right, with that, pass the class over to Precinct Officer Napashkaya.
This is I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K start at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Room for a new brother and sister. When a new brother and sister come to the school, they are living for 6 months. They are here to be saluted only. They are here to set themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to the brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is the commandment, the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21, and book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. My I.S.U.P.K, that means 10 in Hebrew, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest bond, free or offer a priest not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you like to give. The next Holy Convocation is going to be the Feast of Purim. It's going to be on the 14th to 15th day of the 12th month. There's going to be Sunday, March 5th sundown, through Monday, March 6th sundown. You also can find us in the book of Purim, chapter 9, verse 20 to 31. And also get a load of hand for the 54th annual Passover. It's going to be on 500 South Salisbury Street, Raleigh, North Carolina, at the Convention Center. Make sure you get your hotel fees, your Passover fees, and your itinerary booked. I'll walk you in the hallway to check the bulletin board. If anybody wants to be a trooper in school, start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, or scarf. With that, get one person to a teacher. Me Israel, a minor. My Sabbat, minor. Rock. Well, I said to the Hebrew, may the Most High, in the name of Christ, bless you. Ayat yum your top, me hands down, class dismissed.
I got you.
For so long you've been sighing and crying, begging for justice, and here the Lord is bringing you justice right here to your streets. City